Okay, recording.
Thanks. All right. Welcome everyone to Business Career Week 2025. Level up your career strategy, tell your story, find your people. My name is Corey White. I'm with the Employer Relations team here within our Career Services Department. And I'm joined by a few of my colleagues and friends today you're going to hear from here shortly, and we'll introduce you to them. As you're coming in, if you want to navigate to the chat, introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming in from and your major. And then I also have some colleagues in there as we're going throughout the presentation. Please feel free if you have questions, put them right in the chat. We'll be collecting those for the end of the presentation when we do Q&A at the end. So with that, just a couple of housekeeping items to get us started. For security and legal reasons, please note that all participants' use of any AI tool during this event, including Read AI or Otter AI, is prohibited. And your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is very important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this event that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the host as soon as possible. If you require accommodations, you are able to reach out to the respective centers. For online students, you can reach out to the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by phone at 866-305-9430. For campus students, you can reach out to the Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu.edu or by phone at 603-644-3118. And any SNHU staff or faculty that are joining us in the audience, you can reach out to our Human Resources Office by emailing hr@snhu.edu. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenters for the workshop this afternoon. My colleagues, David Munn, Sonia Moffett, Larry Shane, and Elisa Lopez. And with that, I will hand it over to Larry.
Thank you, Corey. Oh, yes, thank you, Corey. Hello, everyone. As Corey said, my name is Larry, and I'll be showing you how to write a resume. Since I can't think of a subject that is more boring than resumes, I thought I would include showing you how to make yourself stand out from the crowd with a little help from Taylor Swift. We will cover how to write a resume so the hiring manager can see your accomplishments and your unique story using the STAR storytelling method. I will define the STAR method in just a few minutes. Here is our agenda for this resume portion of our presentation. We'll cover the goal of a resume, key components, what a typical bad resume looks like, and then, like I said, we'll introduce you to the STAR method of writing accomplishment-based bullet points, and then we'll have a little fun and be entertained showing you what a great STAR-based resume looks like. So what is a resume? It's a summary of your skills, experience, education, and accomplishments, but most important, it's your chance to tell your story. And as David will discuss in his section about research, you're looking for an employer whose story matches your own. And what is the goal of a resume? Obviously, to land an interview and eventually a job. But as you'll hear over and over, it's also about getting that interview or job with an organization whose story matches yours. So let's review the components of a resume. There is the contact information at the top, then the summary, your education listing schools that you are attending or have graduated from, then your skills, and then most importantly, your professional experience listing your accomplishments using the STAR storytelling method. And lastly, your volunteer experience and professional associations you belong to. So let's introduce our job seeker, Taylor Swift, and show you how she would write her resume the same way most people write theirs. In the summary, the applicant wants something from the employer. They want to work for a well-recognized, top-performing record label so that the record label can help them advance their applicant's music career and make them rich and famous. Then, for her job as a singer-songwriter, her experience is that she wrote songs for 4 albums and produced 1 tour. Woohoo! Does that say anything about what she has accomplished or how good she is at what she does? So, what is the STAR method? It's telling your unique story starting with the situation or motivation, then what task came from it, what action was taken, and then what were the results of that action. Let's see how Taylor Swift would put the STAR method into action. Her situation is her unique understanding of her fan base, along with her motivation to connect with that fan base authentically. The task is building a brand community. The action that resulted was the community driving sales and streams, which allowed her to become an enormous cultural influence, enough so that her influence inspired Time magazine to name her Person of the Year in 2023. Another star accomplishment and situation for Taylor is her desire to be relatable. Her task is expressing vulnerability, flaws, mistakes, and insecurities, along with triumphs, balancing honesty and empowerment. The action was strengthening her authenticity, which resulted in her inspiring loyalty and long-term connection. Taylor's song, You Belong to Me, is about being authentic. It's about a high school boy and girl who live next door to each other and know each other very well. The boy is dating the captain of the cheerleaders, and he cannot be himself because she is bringing him down. The girl next door understands him better than the captain does and knows that she is a better match where he can be himself. This can happen with our learners when they admire big name companies like Nike, Disney, or Google. These companies can be seen as the captain of the cheerleaders that everyone wants to date, but can be a complete mismatch of an organization you should be looking for that matches your story. So let's see how good Taylor is at telling her story. Next, let's take a look at how a resume should be written by Taylor Swift. The summary tells us something about her authentic story and how she would fit into the organization she is applying to. But more important are the story-based accomplishments. I especially like the second bullet point about her 6 tours that she created motivated by her lived experiences. Then, in her third bullet point, she starts with her desire to directly connect with her rapidly growing fan base. Lastly, look at the results of all of the situations that she encountered. And lastly, something more important, most people leave off their resumes, your volunteer experience and professional associations and certifications. And one thing to always remember, and that is when you live your authentic life and you present your authentic self to the world, not everyone will like you, but that's okay. because the people who don't like you aren't your people. What you do about them is shake them off. You're looking for your people. And with that, I'll turn it over to Elisa.
Thank you, Larry. What a catchy song to finish your portion. Now I'll have that song for the rest of the day. Hello, everyone. My name is Elisa Lopez. I am a career advisor here at Southern New Hampshire University. I also teach part-time as an adjunct faculty here, and my little bit of background is in marketing as well in social media. So it's nice to be with you guys today. I will be presenting to you a little bit more about networking. It is important to address that we are talking about several components in the job searching strategy, right? In how you can leverage your career. So with that, my portion is called Network with Intention and how to convey your story. While you are seeking your career path or you're doing some job search and preparing your strategy, it is important to understand that at the same time you are trying to present yourself out there in the world. And networking comes into one of those important components. It is a resume, it could be the networking, it could be preparing a cover letter. So just want to convey that there are multiple things that are like the pillars of all this journey, okay? So in this, our agenda for today is what is networking, how to prepare to network, networking online, for example, LinkedIn, finding your people through Instagram, and all the possibilities. Next slide, please. So what is networking? It is important to address that networking is not going to a person and say, please give me a job or demand a job. Okay, it's more about establishing and maintaining connections. It's about fostering and nurturing those connections. And it's usually used in a professional context. So the benefits of networking, it is that you do not know how in the long run those connections will flourish. Okay, benefits are maybe a person knows someone who knows someone from a company that you're very interested in. So you could potentially connect with that person and learn about the company that you're interested in. How was the hiring process? How is it working there? You can get a lot of insight for where you would like to go. So you can gain mentorship. You can gain, like I said, connections. Maybe you are on the loop of something that maybe potentially you would have known if you wouldn't have the right connections. And it's also about getting your story out there. Okay, so how to prepare, what is your story, what is your brand? We'll go over that in the next slide. How to build those connections. So a lot of, in often conversations with students as a career advisor here at SNHU, we talk about how there are so many components out there in job searching as well as like finding a path for your career. So when we start talking about networking, sometimes it gets a little bit, I hear like learners feeling a little bit nervous as to how do we find those networking opportunities. So this could be in professional associations. Professional associations, you can look at them as a club with a membership. So often they do come with a membership or monthly fee. However, professional associations, for example, we have the American Management Association. They serve in ways of connecting with people in different levels in that career, that area of interest. Another example would be the Advertising American Association. There's also conferences, and in our department here at Career Services, we try to always share more about opportunities for conferences that you could attend. When I say conferences, there are multiple topics so you can connect with people. And of course, clubs, that can be student clubs, that can be clubs in your own community. Remember, if you want to build connections, it's not about just focusing on one thing. It could potentially be different topics, right? If you're interested in running, you could potentially join a running club. You have already established a connection with that person that you both like running. Here's another thing to have a good understanding about networking. Sometimes networking can be a warm connection. What does this mean? That you have something in common. Maybe you have a friend who is like that bridge to build that connection, but then you also have what they are called cold connections and you need to make them warm. So this is like an example about the running club, right? You found a common ground. You find something that you are a bridge that makes that path of connecting with that people. And then here's one that I really enjoy, which is Eventbrite. Eventbrite is a website. I actually included the logo in this slide. In Eventbrite, you can see what's going on in your area by zip code, state, or city. And sometimes you will find networking events for small businesses. Sometimes you will find free events of connecting with different interests, like a graphic design call-up, meeting opportunity. And again, I have included the next door neighbor, or it could be your cousin, right? That person who's going to bring that connection. And then I have included Handshake, which offers virtual and in-person events. If you're not familiar with Handshake, in the chat, I know that some tutorials have been included. With your SNHU email, you have access to Handshake, which is not just a job posting site, it is a networking opportunity as well. So what do you need to prepare for networking? And as you can see, I have included a picture of, let's go back to Taylor Swift and her career journey. If she were to connect with people, how would she make a long-lasting impression to others? And I have included a tiny business card there in the photo. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. If you're preparing for a networking meetup in person, consider having business cards. It's nice to sometimes leave something physical. It could also be a QR code on your phone. They can scan your contact information. If you're going to an in-person event, networking, always prepare your outfit, dress to impress. Make sure that you also take copies of your resume or your portfolio and prepare your elevator pitch. If you're not familiar with an elevator pitch, think about being with someone really important who you admire in an elevator ride. That's probably a minute or less. How would you introduce yourself to that person, right? How would you make that long-lasting impression? So prepare your 32 seconds intro of yourself professionally. Research for the event that you're going to attend. Sometimes through online, for example, LinkedIn or Handshake, you can see the people who have RSVP for the event. Research the people who have RSVP so that way you have a mission. I would love to meet with this director. I would love to meet with this colleague who graduated at the same time that I did at SNHU. Also, if you're going to network, it is important to have the mindset. If you're going to be in your shell, maybe thinking about overthinking or not be present in that networking event, it's not going to be as fruitful as if you go in with the correct mindset of like, hey, I'm out here, let me take the most out of it. Prepare questions and as well have a follow-up plan. Whether if you're going to email that person after having connected 2 days after, or maybe you connect through LinkedIn after you make those connections. So in a virtual setting, we are an online school. We have an understanding as to how so many connections and meaningful connections can be made in a virtual setting. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest examples, which is a social media that it's made just for professional connections. With LinkedIn, you can find people from different fields. You can find also events. You can find trainings, articles. If you're familiar with Facebook, it's a bit similar to Facebook in the way that you use it. You can also join groups. Now, for LinkedIn, it is important to understand that consistency is key. Now, I'm not saying that you need to become an influencer in LinkedIn. I'm not saying that you need to post every single time, but little things like the steps that I have here on this slide are important. For example, optimizing your profile. As you can see, I have included, Taylor Swift have included like what her career is. She has included a banner photo of her guitar just to convey that she is an artist, she is a musician. Build and grow your network. So do make meaningful connections. Like I said, you can filter your search on LinkedIn from people who are alumni at SNHU who share the same major as you do. You can use the LinkedIn features like the job search tool, LinkedIn Learning, LinkedIn groups, and make sure that you message effectively. Not just send connections just to because. Make those connections meaningful when you send that message. Hey, I see that you work in this company that I'm very interested in. If you have time, I would love to pick your brain on how you got there. And then maintain your presence. Every once in a while, make a post, right? Now, I know that social media may not be everyone's cup of tea. However, if you're open for this and you are open for being consistent, it will pay off. Now, next slide, please. Another opportunity is Instagram. Instagram has access to global communities. It has opportunities for collaboration. You can have a stronger personal branding or for your professional goals. It is about building relationships, increase your visibility, especially considering small businesses. It does have a humanized networking, and it can give you a lot of inspiration and learning. You can build a community with Instagram. Next slide, please. So how do you even start on Instagram? Ask yourself this questions. Do I need to create a new account? If you're posting a lot of your personal life and you're posting things that may not seem professional, yes, create a new account. And I actually would suggest to just create a new account and not use what you currently have because the algorithm also, with what you're posting and what you like, it's going to think that that is your brand and your story that you're trying to tell. So if you create a new account from scratch, like let's think about your small business, or if you're going to do marketing, social media marketing, the algorithm then is going to understand your story. So this is how it is important to get started. You optimize your profile, you engage with others, you use your DM strategically, similar to what I was sharing with LinkedIn. You post and share value content that it's relevant to your story, to your brand. You can use hashtags, you can join communities, and you can nurture relationships. So for example, Taylor Swift is well known to say keep comments in their videos from their fans or posts from their fans. So for example, this comment says, left a comment on your photo for this person. You drop all that way, thank you. So this person was a Taylor Swift fan and they posted how their journey was to get to their concert and Taylor Swift saw that. So like that's all about the engagement and the commitment. Again, very similar to LinkedIn. If you're going to get started with this, just make sure that you are consistent and you're being committed to this networking opportunity. It's quite different because in the in-person networking, sometimes it's a little bit, the connection is a bit stronger. But when you are in an online setting, because you're not seeing face-to-face, this is why the commitment and the engagement is important. So that way it becomes a warm connection. Next slide, please. So here are some things to avoid online. Again, like I mentioned, maybe social media is not everyone's cup of tea, but it is worth exploring if you're taking your precautions. So oversharing my personal information, please avoid that. Engaging with spam or fake accounts. Sometimes an account is going to tell you, hey, if you follow me, I follow you, and you start following this group, you're going to get a lot of followers. That is just making the algorithm not in play in your favor when you're using Instagram or LinkedIn. So try to avoid those type of connections. It's not about the follower number. It's more about the actual connections that you're making with people in your community. Always have your mix in professional and private boundaries. Do not share sensitive work details. Not so long ago, this person shared all her day routine and step by step on TikTok. She was laid off because she was sharing sensitive information. Do not be overly pushy in DMs. It goes back to the first statement that I say, right? You're not going to reach out to people saying, please give me a job. You're going to, please give me a follow. Just don't be pushy. And do not follow for engagement pods. It is quite a thing on Instagram that if you create a group in which you're trying to grow your following, and supposedly there's this agreement that people give you a follow and likes, but sometimes they use bots, robots, that is just, it's not real people. Next slide, please. So Instagram is just one option from unlimited options. You can find your community your way. There's Twitter/X. If you're more comfortable writing in the setting, you don't need to be posting in as many photos as you would be doing on Instagram. There's also Facebook. Facebook has the Facebook Marketplace. It has the community groups that you can find. There is TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, Discord, and Slack communities, especially for gamers. And then, of course, in a virtual setting, there's the SNHU career events, just like this one, and then of course Handshake. So again, there's just like so many things that you can do with networking. I feel like we just touched the surface here, so I will be sharing you a document with the step-by-step of the ways that you can network. So it's a little bit of what I covered and just more steps additionally, more information. Just be authentic to yourself and find your people. And this is a quote that I really enjoyed, that it's networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships. I know that there was not so long ago a comment here about someone who had a moment that networking isn't just about what you gain, it's about building genuine multiple mutual relationships. That was Crystal. So yes, Crystal, I'm glad that you're sharing that on the chat, because it is about just cultivating the relationships. So with that being said, I believe this is my last slide. I will pass it to Dave, and Davis you don't want to miss what he's going to cover in his research section. So thank you.
Elisa, thank you so much. And Larry, thank you. I think that is so important, that relationship building. And I want to reiterate Crystal's comment about how important that is and how important it is to share your story. So I'm David Munn. I'm a career advisor. I work with the business vertical and the career team, or the military team. You can see a little bit about me here. I'm a lifetime learner, instructor, advisor, and veteran. So let's start with, my presentation is about researching. And this is really the essence of aligning your story, or what Larry talked about, your STAR stories. And it's not just about the applicant tracking system. It's about finding genuine connections, like Crystal said, finding those relationships, and also finding a company that wants to hear your story. Unfortunately, not all companies do. So finding those are really important, and we're going to talk about that. So this is the agenda. We're going to talk about why it matters, because that's important. Right soil, right industry. So we're going to be looking at what are you bringing, and what's the right industry for you. We're going to talk about creating a target list. So we want to start creating a list of companies that we're really connected to, that we know about. AI is so important. Sonia is going to go into more detail about AI, but for me, I love AI for research. That's its best quality, is a research partner. We're going to do a company deep dive. So we're going to talk about how companies tell their story. More specifically, how they actually do tell their stories. We're going to talk about third-party insights. So those are the people that work for the company, people that are in your group, like Elisa said, your people. How can we turn this research into action? Because again, that's the bottom line. I got some examples of a research portfolio, or how can you keep track? And then we're going to talk about that match. That's the really important piece. So why does research matter? Well, research gives you an edge. A survey, you could see the statistics, but a survey by JobVite found that 87% of recruiters say candidates who tailor their application stand out more. And the research allows you to understand an employer's priorities, pain points, and culture. Okay, so it's more than just connecting a resume and a cover letter to it. It's really, like Larry said about Taylor Swift, it's really digging out those stories, those accomplishments, that's going to kind of give you a feel for what is that company looking for. It helps you with interviews, because it's going to be about context, not about just the answers. I've heard a lot of students talk about that. I don't feel like I ever have the right answers. Well, it's really the context and understanding it and finding that cultural fit. So let's talk a little bit more. Let's go. So this is kind of important for me. It's a great metaphor, right? So think of your career like planting a tree, right? You have to find the right soil, which means the right industry, which matters. And before we look outward, we have to look inward. So Larry really dug out some great content, or great STAR stories, those things that really matter to you, your values, skills. Okay, and that will help guide which companies that you want to pursue. So you could ask yourself, what industries feel meaningful to me? What type of culture allows me to have the greatest impact and to be who I am? Because a lot of times, one great strategy for a career searcher is start with the industry that you currently have experience in. Sometimes we have poor experiences, but it's not really the industry. So start with that, okay? Because we're really interested in planting and finding fertile soil. So once you know that, once you start getting an idea of your soil, it's time to start making a target list. So start by asking, who do I admire? Okay, what companies inspire me? So again, it doesn't have to necessarily be the top companies. It could be companies that you interface with every day. You could look at the Fortune's best companies, Fortune 500's best companies to work for. SNHU is a member of that. You could look at local business journals, industry rankings. This is a really great place for AI. We're going to talk about that. And you could look for those companies that have that really great innovation or culture, not just name recognition. So again, going back to, so starting with AI is not just for matching key skills, although that's absolutely something that you could do. Okay, but it can help you tell your story and find roles and companies that match that story. Career 360 has some excellent prompts that Sonia will talk a little bit about. And that's basically, you're just asking it for information about who are the top companies. And you could give it, the more information you give it, the more you get back out of it. So remember that. Take advantage of AI. LinkedIn has some competitive intelligence AI involved. ChatGPT, Copilot, those are my favorites. That will help you create that story and find those companies that match. All right, let's do a little deep dive. So once we got our list, we want to dig deeper. Okay, we could go to the corporate website. We could study the About section. What's their mission, vision, and values? Do they talk about equity and inclusion, sustainability, or social impact? And your goal is to see if their story matches yours. If you value collaboration, does the company celebrate teamwork? If you value growth, do they invest in employee development? And the best run companies I've found are good storytellers, like SNHU. Our stories are all about our learners, our employees, and our leadership. There's nothing better than those stories. That just really makes you feel good about working for a company. So then we're going to find out, let's talk about what are the stories that those companies tell, right? So again, find out what's important to them. You could look on job descriptions. A lot of times you find these company values or vision statements, impact statements under the job summary. So go, start with the summary and see if they have storyteller, advocate, artistic identity, Taylor Swift. Okay, so that's what makes her who she is in her business. So next, we want to start looking at what Elisa was talking about, social media, online. What is the company saying? What are the people saying online? LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Okay, do they tell stories about the leadership and about employees? Are they celebrating innovation or community service or financial results? Our stories sometimes are financial. Like, we want to make money. We want to make a lot of money. We want to find companies that have that value. And that kind of helps you decide whether you want to be part of that story. So go beyond the company website, look at social media. So don't stop with the company, what the company says about itself, right? I mean, if you're going to go out to a restaurant, you look up reviews, find out what other people have said about that restaurant. You want to find out what people have said about a company, right? So a lot of times you will see some of the, complaining or whatever. But if you see it enough, for me, if I see it enough, it probably has an element of truth to it. So instead of making a decision, instead of accepting an offer and then go back and find out that other people have said that they struggled with that about the company. It enables you to really dig in deep and learn more about who that company really is. Okay. So you're trying to create a balanced view of, the strengths and challenges of working wherever you're working. Story for me is when I applied at Southern New Hampshire, I asked hard questions. And because I wanted to know, because I wanted to know if my story matched theirs. And I got honest answers, which is what I was looking for. So these conversations, like Elisa was talking about, these conversations that we have with people, our people, um, really reveal those cultural things, those things that we really need to know. So how do we turn that research into action, right? It's only valuable if you act on it. Okay, so take what you've learned, align your resume summary and cover letter with the company mission and pain points. So this is another great use of AI. Ask AI, what are the industry's pain points? What are the company's pain points? Okay, what do they care about? Again, do they care about sustainability, recycling? What does it say? And then we can kind of do what Elisa said, we can network. We can really, really find those people, our people. And the truth is, this is really where the rubber meets the road, because most good companies hire people they know. And I'm sorry, that's hard for some people, is networking, but the truth is, these are your people. So when you connect with them and you find companies, these better companies, they don't always advertise jobs. It's the hidden job market. So this is where you have to turn that research into action, because Larry talked about the cover letter and the resume. So looking at what are the values and skills and accomplishments that I bring, right? And Elisa talked about the networking. How do I confirm and deepen that research? Okay. So that it's just a really great way to kind of put a bow on this a little bit, and Elisa said, don't practice your story, because you're going to get that in an interview. Trust me. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work for us? And so this is where you're really connecting up your star stories and your elevator pitch. And this is where this is how you could tell when the company loves to hear that story. Like it makes sense to them, and you're going to know it. One, I've got an idea. This is to keep track of your research. You could create a portfolio, and we're going to have a resource in the chat that gives you an example of a company brief or a template. But it's a good way to keep track of your research, and you'll see kind of how you can go about doing that. And again, the most effective career search is really quality over quantity. It's choosing the right companies. So again, before you apply, ask yourself, how do I know this employee shares my story? Can I connect my experiences and values to theirs? And it's not only a strength of your application, but it prepares you for the interview, which most people struggle with, the nerves. Okay, but this is really having that conversation. Why do you want to work here? But what's the story that connects those things? Your star stories. Okay, why do you want to work for that company? What drew you to them? And you have it right there because you've done your research. So in closing, research doesn't just get you interviews, it helps you find work that's meaningful and aligned with who you are. So by combining introspection, research, and AI tools, you can create these applications that stand out, that build networks, that open doors, and they land roles where you'll thrive. So remember, research is the bridge between your story and their story. Your resume tells your narrative, like Larry said. Your social media shows it, like Elisa said, and research helps you deliver it to the right audience. So the more intentional your research, the more likely you'll find a place where you can grow and make an impact. So I want to turn it over to my colleague and professional, Sonia, who's going to talk about AI.
All right. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this has been a great presentation today. Just such great information. And if you don't mind, let's just hear it for today's presenters. Let's give them a thumbs up or a hand clap. I hope that you guys are as excited as I am to hear about how much support SNHU Career Services provides. My name is Sonia Moffitt. I'm a career engagement partner here in Career Services. And if I were Taylor Swift, working with this team of advisors, I would definitely be able to shake it off when it comes to my insecurities about the job search. And I hope that you feel the same. Not only do you have an amazing career team walking alongside of you from the onset of your journey here at SNHU, but you also have access to SNHU's online virtual career center called Career 360. And this is a site that's worth bookmarking and adding to your favorites to revisit 24 hours a day is always going to be at your fingertips. As business students, you already know that advancing your career requires more than completing coursework. It requires staying connected to the right tools, insights, and opportunities, like was mentioned earlier. That's exactly what you'll find on Career 360 and when you're looking at the business page. So if you go over to the business page, you can see the interface on the screen as I speak. And this is focusing on our business program. Simply choose the program page that corresponds with your major or one that you're interested in, and then browse the resources. You can simply choose that program and then go into looking at the scanned highlighted hero menu here and scroll down to discover a plethora of resources. Now we're on the accounting page, for example, but keep in mind that all business program pages are basically set up the same way. We're going to look at whatever, we're going to meet you where you are. So if you're entry or middle level or senior level, in this case, we wanted to differentiate finance from accounting. We'll talk about those professional associations where you can do that networking that Elisa talked about. We're going to talk about those recommended certifications and micro-credentials that will enhance your resume. Also, any software skills that you need. And of course, we talked about AI. And so in looking at accounting, we want to talk about, well, where is it going to be in the next 5 years? How is AI going to impact it? How will it reduce or expand the workforce? And also, how do specific roles in accounting change? And again, you can choose your specific program. Now we'll go over to the resource that David was talking about earlier, which is our Career Services AI page, where you're going to find all things related. And here you're looking at that highlighted hero menu. We have videos that have been compiled by our talented Career Services team, and they're going to get into the specifics on AI, generative AI, and large language models. In addition to that, we're going to talk about those benefits and limitations of those particular tools as it relates to your career development. There is some role playing that you can do on here, so you can learn more about that by clicking that feature in LinkedIn Learning and launch that. It'll launch separately. But also how to use Gen AI to effectively utilize prompt engineering. And these are familiar large language models, as David was talking about some of those earlier. So you can dive into those and differentiate. Then we have our prompt library that has been put together by our career advising team, where you can explore career paths and career goals. You can look at how HR is utilizing AI in making those decisions, those hiring decisions. But I want to jump back to optimization of your resume, cover letter, and portfolio. As you're looking at this, you'll be able to see a plethora of information and that will teach you how to understand that prompt engineering and how to write a cover letter and do some of the other professional documents that you need to be able to put together your story, because we were talking about storytelling earlier. So that includes everything, all of these aspects of putting your story together. We don't have a lot of time to go into AI, but if you go to Career 360 and you check out this page, you will be able to dig and dive into these resources. And if you have any questions and you need to speak with a career advisor just by phone here, or by email. And you can also engage with us, as Elisa mentioned, on our social media. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to drop some resources into the chat box, and I hope that you guys have a great day. I'm going to turn it back over to Corey.
Thanks, Sonia.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. And as one second. Here we go. Thanks to our presenters today. Excellent job to all of you. Hope you got a lot out of this presentation. I know I did. Definitely, as Sonia mentioned, connect with us. You can reach us at cocecareer@snhu.edu. Or we have also a couple of resources up there on the screen for Career 360, Handshake, and SNHU Connect, which are also being shared in the chat. Also, don't forget about our next event as a part of Career Business Week, which is happening tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. It is all about data-driven careers for business students. We're going to have 4 great employers there to do some networking with you all. You can register with the link that I just provided in the chat. So definitely stay tuned and join us for that one. You definitely don't want to miss it tomorrow evening. And with that, we're coming towards the end here. I know we've been collecting some questions throughout the presentation today to ask some of our presenters. So with that, I will hand it over to my colleague and friend, Peter Bartel.
Thanks, Corey. Awesome work to all the presenters. I think everybody's motivated. You can see by the energy in the chat. So great job to the audience as well. We did not have any questions yet come through pertaining to this session. So feel free to enter them in the chat. We definitely have time here. And also is another option if you prefer to come on camera, off mute, you're welcome to do so. There is a raise hand option in the upper middle of the screen. It just says raise. Feel free to click that hand if you prefer to speak your question instead, but those are your 2 ways. You can ask them in the chat or speaking. I will make a statement that Jackie made in the chat, and it was during Dave, your session, your portion. Networking and research should provide a better view of the company before even considering sending my resume and cover letter. Thanks so much for making this. Thanks so much. This made sense to me. So I wasn't sure if you had any, comments off of that, Dave, but just some praise for you and your portion of the presentation.
I just want to say that's so valuable. That is really a good mental mindset to have. So thank you for saying that, Jackie. That's awesome.
Yeah, great. Mohammed asked regarding the seminar tomorrow, which there is one. I believe we shared the link to it in the chat. That is open to all students, Mohammed, not just business students. So thank you for asking. I am sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, but Giawa said, hello. I'd appreciate some guidance. I just now finished my bachelor's in HR and am now pursuing my master's. My background is in insurance high net worth account manager, and I'm transitioning into HR. What's the best way to transition and highlight these skills, and which HR areas would be the best fit for me? I will leave this one open to the panelists in case that anybody wanted to take it.
Well, I'd like to jump in here again. Gaiwa, I'll make an attempt at it. Anyway, Gaiwa, I spent 30 plus years in the financial industry dealing with high net worth clients, and they're quite the pain. I'm sure you'd agree with that. So as a problem solver, you are a peacemaker. You're there to make people happy who are very, very challenging, very entitled, and very difficult to deal with. So in that respect, you are a problem solver, but also you know how to satisfy people and make them happy. So employee retention, something like that. And I would just start talking to people within the HR arena about your background and ask them ideas. One thing that I did hear, for example, which I thought was very interesting, is that I was talking to somebody and they were talking about how the best insurance adjusters in terms of qualifications are former bartenders. Why? Because they're listeners and they know how to draw stories out of people. So when you're visiting the site of an accident, you want to find out all the facts, and drawing everybody in to talk to you and tell their story of what happened. Bartenders are the best at that. So what is your background in high net worth client management? How does that qualify you to work with employees within an HR arena? Hopefully that was helpful.
I thought that was great, Larry. I'd like to hone in on that as well. I think that because you have been working in the domain that you've been working in, that being able to understand what those transferable skills are. Have you been serving in a leadership role? Have you had to hire people? How has your experience been tied to the employee life cycle? So, which area of HR? You want to take those things into consideration so that way you're tying your experiences from where you are to where you want to be, right? So, just depending on which area of HR that you want to get in, whether it's benefits, whether it's HRBP, business partner, if you want to be in benefits, you want to make those determinations first. And then the second thing, it all ties back to this particular this presentation today, because that networking piece. Are you a member of SHRM? If you're not, that is the Society of Human Resource Management. And I understand that you are either now in your master's program or you're about to be, so you're still a student. That means that you can join SHRM for the rate of a student and get it at a fraction of the cost. And it's so worth it because now you can join your local chapter, you can start to get into there and network, become involved in your chapter so that you have visibility, because that's going to be important as well. How engaged are you in person? And the good thing is we're an online campus, so joining a professional association is really going to help you to make those connections in your own community where you'll understand what's going on. And as Larry mentioned earlier, the hidden job market, it's out there, but you have to be visible for people to know that you're there. So really find your niche, what area of specialization that you choose to have in human resources, and then start to meet people in that domain to understand. And if you are in a good relationship with some of the HR individuals in your company, maybe there's a chance that you can do some informational interviews with those individuals to learn more about what it is that they do, what some of their challenges may be, or what some of their needs may be. And the final thing I would say as it ties into AI is understand how how HR is utilizing HR. And I forgot to mention HRIS, which is Human Resources Information Systems. But if you want to get into that domain of HR, then you can tie that together. But there are also recruitment or talent acquisition ways that are the AI is impacting. So understand that as well. It's important to add that no matter, and I'm talking to everybody now, no matter what your professional domain is, be sure that you visit that AI page I put in the chat box for you so that you can go and look at it, bookmark that, because understanding how AI is impacting where you are right now and what it's going to do, those trends into the future, is critical for you to be able to speak upon those competencies once you're in an interview process, or even if you're putting together your elevator pitch when you're at that networking function, which you don't want to sound like you're making an elevator pitch. But if someone does ask you, as someone mentioned today, tell me about yourself, you're able to do it. And then you're able to incorporate some of those new competencies that are going to pique their ear and their attention and say, we need somebody like this in our organization. And that can be the differentiator. Your degree is the qualifier. Your everything else you do is the differentiator. And that's it. I hope that
Fabulous.
helps.
Fabulous, Sonia. Thank you. Fabulous, fabulous.
Differentiator is definitely a power word,
Mhm.
right? Elisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to just add, because I think my colleague said it so well. Um, when you're transitioning your career, nurture your mind. Be creative, right? Think about all of the things that transfer over as well. So like in addition to what Sonia and Larry said, also think about what transfers over. If you have been in a certain field and that certain field gave you the customer service skills, that gave you the organizational skills, that gave you the project management skills, and it transfers over to HR, use it, leverage on that, plus your education. And like Sonia said, those are the differentiators. Love it, love it. Great chat.
So good job, audience, as well in the chat. The communication's flooding in, so we'll get to as many questions as we can here. I'm going to go in order received. Muhammad asked, as I work best with examples, are there example resumes and cover letter resources available via SNHU? I believe that was handled in the chat, so I just wanted to acknowledge that question. Thank you, Mohammed. And the resources were provided if anybody else needed reference. And then Van, this question's for David. I'm a believer that people can learn anything. What do you recommend to avoid jobs ignoring someone who may not have the background they're looking for, but the person is willing to learn?
I think for me, kind of goes to what Elisa talked about, is talking to people in areas of interest and kind of, sort of flushing out some of those things, or, really getting in touch with people that do what you want to do. I guess that's really the best way to kind of filter out those companies that you really don't want to work for, is just talk to people that do what you want to do. You've got interest and skills and education. So use some of those things. Lisa talked about, reaching out to professional societies and LinkedIn groups. So it's really a great way to kind of develop that language and kind of stay clear of those companies. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Dave. It's all about telling that story, right? It's all about telling that story, because if you're that person who's willing to learn, how will people know? So you need to find those people who will listen to your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Oh.
Go ahead, Sonia.
Oh, no, that's fine. Thank you. Have other questions?
All right, no problem. The next one is for Larry. Heather Robinson asked, I have gaps of employment in my resume due to caring for my children. How do I fill in those gaps and show I still have the skill set despite not working over the past several years?
Great question. The best place to address the gaps in employment is in your cover letter. And with those gaps, you also want to talk about what you've done to stay current. The last thing a hiring manager wants to see is that you've been sitting on the couch for the last 3 years with a clicker in your hand. Raising kids is a full-time job. When we talked about transferable skills before, look at what you've done while you took time away from your professional career to raise your kids, because that's very, very common. Women drop out of the profession, start a family, raise a family, and then want to get back in 10 years later. Look at what you did during those gaps. So for example, transferable skills. If you had your kitchen remodeled, what did you do for that? Well, you were the project manager. You're the one who had to hire all the contractors and get all the supplies. So anything like that where you were acting in a professional manner, but just not within an organization.
Perfect, thank you. Let's see, gotta go back to the chat. I think we got time for one more. What is a good career choice for someone who's coming from the manual labor side to the business side? Probably leave that open to David, or yeah, probably David. Or Elisa, I saw you come off mute if you wanted to take it.
No, I was just gonna say, but Dave, I would love to hear your point of view as well. But it really is what you would like to do. It really is. And it goes back to our theme for today, right? About the storytelling. What is that company story? And what is your story? So how do you merge those two? How do you find that path for it? Because, I mean, being positive, there's many ways that you can find a way to be transferable to whatever field that you want to change your career in. It's just a matter of like, what is it that you would like to do? And then you put that strategy.
We are at time, so thank you so much all for the questions, the panelists for the presentation and addressing the questions. I did see somebody who had raised their hand. Unfortunately, we're at time. We want to be mindful of everybody, so I appreciate everybody hopping on. I'm going to throw it back to Corey to close us out.
Thanks so much. Awesome presentation. Tons of questions. I feel like we could be here quite a long time today, but it was so engaging. Thank you to our audience for being so great, to our presenters. You all did a fabulous job. Elisa, Sonia, David, Larry, pleasure. And thank you so much to Kelly, Colleen, and Peter for helping me out behind the scenes for this presentation. And it certainly takes a village to deliver this great content to our SNHU students. So hope you found it valuable. Again, if you want, give a virtual applause to our presenters again today. Other than that, we will definitely see you at our event tomorrow evening for our networking session with all those great employers. Other than that, have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Hi.
Thank you.